Hey, what's going on, guys? So, Jonathan Kent, the son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, has now officially been canonized as being bisexual.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got. I know a lot of people are going to be out here thinking that this is really cool and transformative. Meanwhile, others are going to pretend to be offended because this is an affront to my values, despite the fact that I don't read comics and this will affect me in no way possible. Culture war! But as far as I'm concerned,
Okay.
and I'm not opposed to DC changing or amending characters' sexuality or whatever. First of all, I think it's really important to depict more prominent characters that don't fit the heterosexual white male archetype that comics have been defaulting new characters into for the past 80 plus years. But just beyond that, like I said on my review for Amazing Spider-Man 875, these characters are corporate entities. I don't own them. So if DC, for example, wants to make a Batman comic where Bruce Wayne is a Chinese teenager who's finger-banging Selena Kyle behind an Arby's dumpster while a teenage Joker masturbates while watching, everyone's mileage is going to vary, but at the end of the day, I don't own or have any agency over what DC does with those characters because they don't belong to me. They belong to DC, to Warner Brothers Entertainment. So unless I buy stock in Warner Brothers or their current parent company Discovery, I have no power there. But back to Jonathan Kent. Much like everything else done with this character in the past 2 to 3 years, this is a neat conceptual development that I just don't feel any kind of way about. Mainly because John, regardless of any of the wealth of ideas that anybody approaches the character with, it just all feels flat upon execution because the character himself feels like a big-ass nothing burger of good ingredients gone to waste. Okay, so I have a weird relationship with Jonathan Kent. I could have phrased that better, but I'm not going to. Let's take a trip back to 2015. DC was in a weird spot, you know? It was the twilight of the New 52 era. If you think Superman fans are pissy now, oh god, you have no idea. You have absolutely no concept of how bad it was. It was rough to be a Superman fan back then. If you were a relatively new Superman fan, you felt like everybody hated you because you weren't a fan of the real Superman. And if you'd been a fan of the character for a while, you felt like DC hated you because they were making some pretty major changes to the character, like giving him a collar and getting rid of his trunks. Okay, that's not fair. There was definitely some other shit going on that absolutely nobody was a fan of. But I'll count myself as one of the Superman fans in the former position who didn't mind New 52 Superman. In fact, I really liked Grant Morrison's run on Action Comics, despite that book not being the easiest thing in the world to follow at times. I also really enjoyed Scott Snyder and Jim Lee's Superman Unchained. Andy Diggle's brief stint on Action Comics with Tony Daniels was cool. Hell, I even liked what little of Greg Pak and Aaron Cooter's one that I read, until the editor started thinking that they could do their writers' jobs and we ended up with instant classics like Superman Doomed. But aside from all of that, I didn't really have a problem with New 52 Superman, which also means that I was among the Superman readers who somewhat ignored the Olive Branch Superman title that DC published, Superman Lois and Clark, which was written by Dan Jurgens and drawn by Lee Weeks. And from what I'm told, that was a fun little post-crisis Superman title that really felt like DC was throwing a bone at classic Superman fans, like, I see, we gave y'all niggas something, now shut y'all ungrateful asses up. But I also just ignored it for the simple fact that it was about an older Lois and Clark raising a child, which is an idea that I'm just not inherently interested in. I'm in the camp of people that see Superman as a science fiction character first and foremost, and I'm really married to the concept of Superman just being too biologically alien to reproduce with a human companion. So for a variety of reasons, I didn't read that book. But then DC killed off New 52 Superman and then replaced him with post-crisis Superman, so now I had two options. I could either A, stick to match Landis' American Alien universe, which was going to be made up of miniseries and one-shot continuations very similar to the Marvel Ultimate Universe. Or B, I could just suck it up and read the new and improved Superman title that was following a premise that I wasn't inherently interested in. So I chose the former. And then that very quickly became an impossibility, so I just had to suck it up and give Patrick Gleason and Peter Tomasi's role on Superman a chance. And okay, guys. Holy shit, that comic was amazing. Not only did it win me over on the idea of Superman being a father, it won me over on the character of his son, Jonathan Samuel Kent. He was the next Dick Grayson. He was the next Wally West. He was the next Laura Kinney. He was the next big child legacy character that I was excited to watch grow and progress and change over the course of many years. The promise of watching him grow and mature and inevitably, probably, take the mantle of Superman in the same way that Dick Grayson did for Batman, or Wally West did for The Flash, was exciting. I was genuinely excited for the future of this character because there was so much potential. And then all of that excitement got pissed on, set on fire, and then kicked out of a window. So, Brian Michael Bendis leaves Marvel after a 18, 20-year-long comics career with them? And then DC gives Tomasi, Gleason, and Dan Jurgens a big ol' cock cheese slap to the face by cutting their run short and giving both Superman titles to Bendis. And a lot of people, including myself, were highly skeptical to say the least. I would argue for very good reason. But the first few issues of Bendis' Man of Steel miniseries with Adam Hughes was pretty solid. And then there was the rest of it, including his dual runs on Action Comics and the main Superman titles, respectively. And I'm not gonna get too deep into all that because I noped the hell out after the first 10 or so issues of both books. I couldn't read past that. I was so done. But I do legitimately think that DC allowing Jonathan Kent to be written out of the books and then come back after being magically aged up 7 to 8 years out of nowhere was the single worst thing they could have possibly done with the character. Because I think everything else they're trying to do with him in the years since is fine on paper. Seeing Superman's son engage with the world as a teenager in the public eye? Cool. John wanting to be a better Superman than Superman because he's a teenager and he thinks he knows better? And then being awarded that opportunity to prove himself? Also a great idea. John being bisexual? Yeah, sure, that works. A little dicey, since making characters LGBTQ was the modern equivalent of slapping a random set of pouches on a character's costume, but I think you can make it work. There's definitely something creative there that can be explored, for lack of a better term. The problem, however, all goes back to that one simple fact that we didn't get to see him grow up. We didn't get to see him go through changes in his life that profoundly affected the way he viewed the world, or his father, or his mother, or his heritage, or the greater superhero community at large, or himself. And as a very unfortunate result, nothing about the recent developments of his character feel earned. And I'm not saying that we had to wait to see him grow up over the course of 30, 40, 50 plus years like some other prominent legacy characters in comics. Laura Kinney was created back in 2003, and she made her comics debut in 2004. And she took the mantle of Wolverine a little over a decade later. But in those 11 years, we got to know her as a character before becoming the new Wolverine. Granted, the book wasn't great. I thought the status quo was perfect. But in my opinion, Tom Taylor was not the guy for that book. Which is funny, because Tom Taylor is also writing the current Jonathan Kent Superman title, which is also not great. And that's weird for me. Generally, I like Tom Taylor's work. He's the king of making terrible ideas work out better than they have any right to. But this Superman title that he's doing is just bad. It's terribly bad. It doesn't feel like he understands the character of Clark Kent or what the role of Superman means to him personally, and by extension, that makes me unsure of how John is supposed to see Superman as a concept. Either that or he's just intentionally writing Clark to be unfavorable to make John look better, and that's... I don't know why that is still a thing writers think is okay to do. Like, you don't... Okay, pause. Please, for the life of me, help me understand why writers continue to tear characters down to build other characters up. That's just such a counterintuitive thing for me. I don't understand that thought process. But even then, John is an insufferable cunt. And I wanted to think that maybe he was doing that on purpose, but after reading the first 3 issues, I don't think he's self-aware in the least bit about how unlikable his main universe version of Jonathan Kent really is. But who knows? Maybe it'll all work out in the end. It's always my hope that these things do. But as far as I'm concerned in the here and now, I find it nigh impossible to really care about Jonathan Kent. And that, honestly, breaks my heart. Because he was a character who I was not only won over on, but I was excited to see where that character went in the future. And now, I just feel numb to any development that that character has. But like I said at the top of the video, Superman is a corporate entity, and that extends to his son, John. I have no agency over what DC editorial chooses to do with that character, even if I think they've completely fumbled any promise that he started out with, making anything done with his character in the future feel weightless, or lacking of any real sense of emotional impact. All I can do is offer you my opinion on what they're doing. But speaking of which, what about you? What are your thoughts on DC's decision to make John a college-age teenager? What are your thoughts on DC's decision to replace Clark with John as the Earth-centric Superman? And what are your thoughts on him being bisexual? You know, if you have any opinion on that at all. Or do you feel like me, and you feel like John is just a ball that DC Comics has dropped and just can't do much with to excite you anymore? Let me know down below in the comment section. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you have to do is subscribe. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie. Thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, adios nachos, adios.